So,
Okay.
can you tell me a bit about how you work with clients?
So I work collaboratively with my clients in order to help them to get them to where they want to be.
Hmm.
I'm honest and I'm gentle, but I will challenge you if it's needed. Um, we can look at sort of practical things you can do and challenge, as well as the thoughts and feelings that hold up all your behavior that you might be experiencing. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of being a mirror to your clients.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But then sometimes also challenge them by pointing out some of the blind spots as well.
Yeah, it's noticing where the patterns are. It's playing dot to dot
Hmm.
sometimes where you can't always see it when you're in it, but having somebody that you're talking to outside of your direct situation can help you see where everything fits together.
Hmm.
So that's how I like to work.
Yeah. And so, how would you describe your therapy style?
Okay, so my therapy style, I'm more integrative. So I use what I can and what will help you. So that might be different from person to person. Obviously, with CBTE, there's a set protocol to follow, but that is customizable. We can use slightly different ways or angles of doing things to really make it make sense to you. Um, yeah.
Absolutely. Because we mainly work together to work with clients who are struggling with eating difficulties or eating disorders. Of course, CBTE and all those other frameworks that are used for eating disorders are going to
Mhm.
be kind of like the central structure, let's call it. But the good thing about being a psychotherapist or yourself an integrative therapist, you can kind of weave in what will be helpful for the individual, make it quite an individualized treatment rather than it being like slap on one size fits all approach.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I've found that doesn't really work.
no, exactly. Everyone is different and we need to treat everyone like that.
Yeah.
How do you think your clients would describe your therapy style?
My clients probably
Hmm.
describe it as warm but challenging. So I've had people say that they feel very comfortable with me. They like to, they feel like they're able to open up, but they also like the way that I call them on their rubbish sometimes because that's what they're kind of there for, you know? I use an awful lot of analogies, and some people really don't like that, and that's okay. Um, but I use them to try and help us understand what's going on and to help
Hmm.
me make sure I'm understanding what you're talking about as well. So it just
Yeah.
helps us find common ground sometimes when the things we're talking about feel so confusing or muddy or difficult. Using
Hmm.
analogies can really be useful in making it a little bit simpler.
Yeah, it makes it feel more tangible. And I guess there's no such thing as a stupid question, right? When you're asking, it's because you generally want to understand. And sometimes what might seem obvious to someone else might not be as obvious to us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what kind of clients do you most often work with, Natalie?
Uh, Generally all sorts. So the clients that I seem to end up with are people that feel stuck or maybe overwhelmed. Um, they need some help to try and figure out what's going on for themselves. Or they maybe feel like they're failing somehow because things that they've done before aren't presently working, and that can get frustrating, right? Like you may recognize that in yourself that sometimes we think we've got a handle on something and it doesn't always work out that way.
Hmm.
Um, so I seem to get people who are at the start of a bit of a journey, I guess, as much as that word
Definitely.
annoys me sometimes. It's that you're in the middle of a bit of a process of how to get from where you are to where you want to be. You recognize something isn't right where you are, but you can't quite see how to move forward. Those are the sorts of clients I tend to get.
Yeah, absolutely. So, ones who kind of need a bit of direction. Because I guess part of asking for help is admitting that there is a problem. Of
Yeah,
course, we still get clients through the door who don't know whether what they're experiencing is a problem per se just yet.
yeah,
So it's important to be welcoming to those clients and help them understand that there's no such thing as a stupid question, once again. And also, it's absolutely fine to feel like you're all alone before you talk about things, and
Yeah,
maybe normalize what you're going through. I guess
absolutely.
at ACEDS as well, we work with all ages. And
Mhm.
what kind of client groups do you mainly work with?
I tend to work with sort of teenagers plus,
Hmm.
um, all genders in that. Um, the oldest person I worked with was 93. That was
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh.
But it's life happens to all of us, right? Like there's always going to be difficult patches across our entire experience. And I think it's really important that everybody feels like they can reach out and get support when they need it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Absolutely. And what do you think is the most important thing for your clients to know before starting therapy for you with you?
Um, that they can ask me anything. I reserve the right not to answer, but they can ask the question and we can always talk about why they feel it's important to know that. Um, with me, you get somebody who is going to listen to you, who is going to try and understand what you're going through without judging it, without trying to necessarily change or fix it, because that's not my job. My job is to help you figure out what you need, not to do it for you. Um,
Hmm.
Something I say a lot in sessions is there's 168 hours in a week. I get to bug you for maybe one of them. The other 167 is your problem.
I
As
love
much as
that.
I will be there, as much as I can for that time that we're together, it is your job to do the rest and to notice things and make the changes. I am a cheerleader. I'm there in the background. I'm there in those sessions fully when you need me, but I cannot do it for you.
Exactly. We can only do so much. And I think that's super relevant as well, even with parents of our clients.
Hmm.
So some
Yeah,
parents obviously are at a loss when they send their young people or children to us. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, parents and family members are so important in helping with that change in between sessions.
yeah.
So, yeah, definitely you can guide, you can educate, but at the end of the day, the person who does it is never going to be you, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, through ACEDS, you were delivering CBTE in the past, and you're going to be
Mhm.
delivering CBT for us moving forward.
Yeah.
Obviously, you work integratively and you use lots of other modalities and frameworks. So, how would you describe CBTE in practice to clients who are interested in doing CBTE with you?
So CBTE I describe as structured but customizable, right? So
Hmm.
there's a set of things we can draw from that have been shown to support people with eating difficulties. Some of them are universal and everybody will do them, but other aspects may not be needed or may be needed in less or more detail depending on what's going on for that person. Um, so there is a protocol, there is a sort of step-by-step guide through, but that doesn't mean we can't sidestep sometimes. That doesn't mean we can't go a few ahead and then come back if we need to, just to see
Hmm.
what you're dealing with at that time. Um, so CBTE is a bit more structured than maybe I'd usually work, but I find it's really nice and helpful to have that framework to build from.
Yeah, definitely. It is a really nice structure to work from. But like we were saying earlier, it's about adding that individual's flair to it because it has to fit their context as well. And
Absolutely.
so the earlier stages in treatment, I always say to everyone when they start with ACEDS or when they're showing interest, is CBTE. The first part is very physiological. It's very much
Mhm.
about getting that regular eating going, nailing the physical stabilization before we get into the psychology.
Yeah.
How do you support your clients through those early stages of treatment?
So the early stages can sometimes feel really hard because you are challenging a lot of things that maybe you didn't think you would straight away, right? But like you said, it's that physiological stabilization that's needed so that we can move on to the psychology. I tend to be firm but fair, so I want you to understand what your barriers are. I want to understand what they are to making changes so that we can help you address them, right? Um, Similar to what I said earlier, sort of think of me as an understanding cheerleader. Like I get it that it's gonna suck sometimes, right? You might not like it, but the psychoeducation is there. I will go through the reasons why we're asking you to make these changes, the reasons why it's really important that we get that bit down first, so that we can then move on and you can better deal with and handle some of the more psychological stuff that comes up further into the treatment. Um, I don't massively let people off the hook, as it were, to borrow that phrase. But at the same time, I'm not there to tell you off either. Things
Mm,
happen. Stuff can be more difficult than others in different weeks. I mean, we know all for ourselves, one week can be massively different to the following one. It's about working with the individual to make sure they understand the whys, understand the reason, and help support them to get there, you know?
hmm absolutely. And like you said, it kind of can feel really up and down at the beginning. How do you work with motivation or ambivalence?
So it's working with what's brought in. So whether that's a little or a lot. So it's finding ways to, if we've got a little bit of motivation, it's finding ways to try and fan that flame a little bit and make it a bit bigger and push that forward, maybe looking at the possibilities of what might come as you move forward, the things that maybe you can get back that have fallen away. And when people are more ambivalent, it's trying to understand why that is. So we can either work around it, work with it, or challenge it,
Hmm
right? Because it's really easy to ignore those areas, those things we don't talk about, those things that, oh, I just can't do that. What's going on there? Why does that feel so difficult? Like, I'm not gonna avoid topics because you somebody comes and doesn't feel like that's important, because I don't know whether that's the case.
hmm
Especially in those first few weeks with people, I'm getting to know you as much as you're getting to know me. So it's important for me to really shine lights in all of those little corners to see if there is any motivation hiding anywhere else, or what it is that's holding that back in those areas, so that we can, as I say, either work around it, work with it, or challenge it to help you have the best possible chance of moving to where you want to be.
hmm Absolutely. And what do you think helps clients feel safe enough to do that when using CBT?
I think being honest with people and doing what you say you're going to do. So as much as I try and do that in all aspects of life, right? I'm human and sometimes we forget things. Um, but with CBTE, it's making sure that the psychoeducation that we do at the beginning is covers the range of things. Whether you're telling me that, no, I know all of that, it's just double checking that, okay, but just to check, do you know these things? Do we match? Are we on the same page? So making sure we're
Exactly.
coming from the same place. Because it can be, I might make assumptions at times, and they could be so far off base, it'd be unbelievable, you know? So it's about double checking those things to make sure that the service that you are getting, the treatment you are getting, actually matches what you're feeling inside and what you're thinking. Um,
hmm
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I guess it's about checking in with their clients to make sure you're not like dragging them behind you or pushing them before they can walk. And
Yeah.
it's really good to check in to make sure that you're singing off the same song sheets. Like you said, you're doing, yeah, I think we're in the same place. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, checking in.
Yeah.
And in the service, a lot of the clients that I see, but not as many people see, are ARFID clients. And
Mhm.
I was curious whether you had anything that you'd like to kind of say about RFID presentations, if you've had any experience with working with RFID at all?
I have had a little bit of experience working with ARFID. It is not something that I would necessarily call my speciality, but that doesn't mean that I can't aim to be helpful and aim to help people with what they're dealing with around that as well. Um, in terms of how that works in practice, to be honest, I don't necessarily work massively differently if somebody is coming to me with more of an ARFID presentation. It's again finding out the whys, finding out the what it is. Is this more sensory? Is this fear? Is this something else entirely? Right? It's meeting you where you are and understanding what you're experiencing to try
Mm-hmm.
and help make the changes you need to again get to where you wish to be and where would
Mm-hmm.
be healthier for you potentially as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because our RFID clients present quite differently to the typical client we would get who's struggling with an eating disorder where we'll use
Mhm.
CBTE. And I guess the beginnings are quite similar, where we need to get into that regular eating pattern. We need to understand motivations for eating and move through those different presentations. So the presentations being um, fear of negative consequences or sensory difficulties or lack of interest in eating. But it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you can't help, right? It's about understanding what
Yeah.
makes them tick and how they can move forward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so kind of moving towards your clients and your experience of them,
Mhm.
what do you think you'd like your clients to know about how a first session might feel like with you?
So I always kind of pre-warn people that the initial session tends to feel a bit like an interview, and it's not necessarily how future sessions are going to feel. The reason for that is it's really important for me to get a full picture of as many aspects of what's going on for you as I can, so that I can best help you moving forward. All right. If I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand something or if I don't take something into account, then that might skew what we need to do moving forward. So
Mm-hmm.
there is a lot to get through as well in that initial sort of session, whether it's checking lots of different aspects of life, whether it's looking at history of stuff, whether it's
Yeah.
checking sort of behaviors and things that you do now. So I do warn people that that first one's a bit like an interview, and future sessions are not maybe not quite that full on um, than that first one will be. But as I say, it's really important to get as many aspects of your story as we can to make sure that the treatment is tailored to you moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what do clients often say they appreciate about the work that you do with them?
They appreciate that they have a space to talk, that they have a space where they feel able to be open and say the things that maybe they can't say anywhere else. Um,
Mm,
so they hopefully what they're feeling from me is that they're not going to get any judgment. They're not going to get somebody shutting them down or making them feel silly for feeling the way that they feel, like they may have experienced elsewhere, right? People mean well, but sometimes what comes out of friends, families, loved ones' mouths isn't helpful depending on what's going on in your own head, right? So
mm-hmm.
having a space where you can say all of what's in there and just sort of see what's there and really digest it without somebody jumping on top of it or trying to change it or saying, oh no, you can't feel like that, or no, that's not true. Um, can be really helpful just to have people to uh, feel supported in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Definitely. And we touched on this a little bit earlier with ambivalence and motivation, but when your
Mhm.
clients feel stuck or overwhelmed, how do
Yeah.
you tend to adapt your work?
So depending on how that comes up, initially we might slow down and come back into the room. It depends how that overwhelm or stuckness is showing, right? We might
Mm-hmm.
come back to the reasons why they came in the first place. Like, what are we trying to achieve here? is that stuckness or that overwhelmness feeding into that, or is it helping to move you forward, or is it holding you back? Like there will always be times you feel stuck or overwhelmed, but it's important to remember that any sort of therapy is a process. Some bits are going to feel easier than others, and we'll spend some time maybe looking at what's caused those feelings, seeing if there's anything that we can do to help ease them. But sometimes even just voicing it is enough to shift it a little bit, just going, do you know what? I feel really overwhelmed by this, and I don't know if I want to continue with that. And
Hmm.
so it might be that we've picked a step too far. We need to look at, okay, is there somewhere in between where we are and where we want to get to that we could try?
Definitely.
Is there something you need from me right now to help you get over this stuck? Or is there a conversation you need to have with somebody out in your life that we could
Hmm.
help you with in here that you could then go and do to help shift that? So again, it's looking at it from lots of different angles and trying to see how we can support with shifting that. But initially, sometimes it is just slowing everything down, reminding everybody that they're safe, they're okay. We're in a place where we're trying to make changes, and that sometimes that is going to feel a lot.
Hmm.
And that's all right. Just a bit of reassurance can be really beneficial and helpful.
Yeah, and I really echo the slowing down, because
Mhm.
sometimes when we're feeling that overwhelmed, we're feeling that stuck, it's almost like we're going in a direction or at a speed that the client is starting to feel unsafe at.
Yeah,
So, kind of like we don't have to rush to the next step. We don't have to do the things that I've jotted down that we're going to do today. We can actually stop and talk about what's
yeah.
really important to you and why you're experiencing these feelings. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I'm curious about what's something clients are often surprised by during the process of therapy.
Okay. I think clients can be really surprised that somebody can understand them or at least try to get what they're going through. So, oftentimes when we're struggling with whatever you're struggling with, you can feel very lonely, feel very alone, like nobody gets it, nobody understands, nobody else can possibly get what this feels like. But sometimes having that space to really try and explain it, and then if occasionally I'll say something, I'll connect some dots or I'll help you see a slightly different point of view or something like that. And it's almost like you can see the either the light bulb going off or the jigsaw pieces slotting into place, and people go, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay." So that moment, I really love that moment as a therapist, as a sort of helper, when people have figured out something for themselves. Um, and I think that sort of dual thing there. So clients feeling like somebody gets them, somebody else can understand it, even if they haven't lived it. But also in doing that, in sharing some of that stuff with someone like yourself or me, sometimes they can get a clearer picture of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So another analogy I use sometimes is like I'm the rag that cleans the window a little bit, so they can look through it and go, "Oh, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm seeing. It's not all this smudged stuff that was on it. The actual thing is out there, and that's okay." So actually having somebody else work to try and understand your point of view and then maybe help you see a path through it or see other options that you maybe didn't think were open, that is what clients often find most surprising in sessions.
Absolutely. Definitely. And I think there's moments, I don't know, we get a lot of clients who really don't believe that they can change. They're kind of
Mhm.
just there because they're like, well, what else am I going to do?
Yeah.
And it's really refreshing when the client gets to that point where they actually go through the motions despite
Mhm.
quite low motivation to do it. They do it
Yeah.
anyway. And then all of a sudden they feel different and they feel better and they feel, more alive. And that really is a rewarding moment, those kind of aha moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have Eating Disorders Awareness Week coming up, and I'm going to ask you some of these questions, even though I know um, I didn't send them to you beforehand.
Okay.
But I feel like you can wing this. The
Okay.
theme, because you kind of touched on it in many different ways already. So the theme this year is community for Eating Disorders
Okay.
Awareness Week. So that brings in family, friends, mutual groups, mutual aid groups where there's online help, which is very
Mhm.
popular nowadays. So, yeah, I was wondering, what do you think community means to you in the context of eating disorders?
I think that means having your village, whatever that looks like, right? So for some people,
Hmm.
that's the therapist. For some people, that's friends, family, parents, peer groups. I think building your community, building your supportive community. So people that are going to help uh, move you towards being the best version of you, people who are going to cheerlead and support and encourage. I think that's a really important part of community
Hmm.
in eating disorders.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. And obviously, having that supportive family member or friend there or
Mhm.
partner, whatever you want
Yeah,
it to look like, that makes a huge difference in not feeling alone, not feeling judged. It doesn't mean that the person has to be a professional or an educator. It just means that actually that just having someone as a sounding board sometimes, even if you're saying the same thing to them every single day, is
yeah.
really, I guess, grounding for our clients.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
what do you think helps clients feel most connected during treatment? What gives them a sense of connection?
Um, I think that knowing that somebody is there to listen to them in treatment, knowing that uh, they have that supportive person who's there just to meet them where they are. Um, because it can feel very isolating. You can feel very alone. So having that backup can can help you build further connections as well. Because once you've sorted it out in therapy, once you've tried it out in therapy, right? Sort of talking to
Hmm.
somebody, sometimes it can become easier to talk more with those around you.
Hmm.
Is it always easy? No, but it helps you take that chance and be vulnerable in that way to go, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing? And build back into those relationships that maybe have dissipated over time. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, eating disorders can feel really isolating, because this
Mhm.
is a very secretive um, thing to be going through. It can bring a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, but also a sense
Mhm.
of being lost and alone.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what you've described so far about your style of working is all aimed at making that client feel less alone and more understood.
Mhm.
Um, what role do you think the therapeutic relationship has in making a client feel less alone?
I think the therapeutic relationship is key, right? Because it
Hmm.
can be a mirror to all of your other relationships, right? But it can also be a place where you can test out new things, right? It can
Yeah.
also be a place where you can try a different tactic or a different path that maybe you won't have tried out in the real world before. And it is that place where it's okay to stumble. It's okay to make missteps because your therapist isn't going to sit there and go, "Oh, I can't believe you did that." They're going to go,
Hmm.
"Oh, what was that? What's what was that for? What's going on there?" And explore it with you, right? And I'm very open to being challenged. If I've done something that's upset you or made you feel some kind of way, I would encourage people to tell me that, right? Because that helps us build the relationship. That helps us keep that therapeutic relationship strong and steady so that we can do the work, you know?
Hmm. Absolutely. And I really like that. I always say to all of my clients, I'm going to be challenging you. So please challenge me because I'm going to say things that you won't like to hear, that maybe you do need to hear. And
Yeah.
we need to be honest about those reactions, about yeah, how you feel about these things. Because this is just like a little, I guess, example of how you might react in the real world or a place where you
Mhm.
can practice how you can react and respond in new ways with the people that you have around you.
Yeah.
So, Nathalie, what do you think you would like clients to know about you before reaching out?
Okay. Well, That's a big question. It depends what people need to know, right? So
Yeah.
I've lived with my own mental health things. They are in my family unit. I'm a mum of three, I'm a Navy wife, and life can get busy sometimes. It can get hectic. So there's an element of lived experience to some of my work as well. Whilst that doesn't colour what comes into the room, I hope sometimes that helps people feel a bit more able to open up, able to feel confident that I'm not just coming from a place of education and book knowledge, as it were. I've lived a life as well. I'm nearly 40. It's just there, right? I haven't gone through, it's not been always an easy path. Um, but yeah, I'd like people to know that I'm on their side. I want them to get to where they
Yeah,
want to be, and whatever that looks like is okay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's really important, I guess, in a shorter way as well. You're saying, I'm also human.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly. So, is there anything else, anything at all that you'd want to say to someone considering starting therapy?
I think it's really, really brave to reach out, right? Whether
Hmm.
you end up in therapy or not, right? It's really brave to seek support in the first place. If now isn't the right time, that's fine, right?
Hmm.
I would also encourage people to find a therapist they click with, right? Because if you don't get on with your therapist, the work that you do is maybe not going to be as beneficial as it could be, um, or might not give you what you need at the time. But I would really encourage people to think about what they want to get out of it so that they come in with maybe an aim or a goal or something to work towards. So yeah.
Hmm. Great. And what do you most enjoy about the work that you do?
Oh, getting to see and celebrate the changes in people. So it doesn't matter how big
Yeah.
or small they might seem to be, those little moments of I did this, or I didn't make that comment, or I didn't make that choice, or this was really cool, or I did this differently. Those moments are
Hmm.
what I most enjoy seeing and
Yeah.
experiencing with people, having that privilege of people allowing me to experience that with them.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, it's very brave to seek help to start therapy. And
Mhm.
the fact that they're letting you have a front seat to the change that's going on within the room is really amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Natalie. That's really nice. I think it's also really nice for me to hear about how you work and learn a bit more about you. So
Mhm.
thank you.